Hey everyone, welcome to the Genius STEM Camp. It's your facilitator, Temba Chikumbi, and I'm so excited for this session. I hope you all have a pen and paper because we're definitely going to have a lot of writing and learning throughout this session. If you don't have a paper, kindly ask the facilitator for one. I'm sure they'll be able to provide you with one. So yeah, let's get started. I hope you're as excited as I am. So, has anyone ever heard of the term cybersecurity, or have you ever heard of a data attack? Have you ever heard of cyber attacks, payloads, protection, ransomware, information technology, system computers, danger, networks, vulnerability, or I think something that we're all common with, a computer virus. So these are a lot of terminologies, but all these fall under cybersecurity. I know it sounds like a lot, but we're definitely going to break down each and every segment of this. And yeah, I hope we'll all be on the same page by the time we're done with this session. So the lesson goes, upon the completion of this session, learners should be able to grasp the fundamentals of cybersecurity, cryptographic technologies, and how the world, be it the metaverse or anywhere just generally, is incorporating these technologies. So ever wondered who protects your money at the bank? Probably you don't have banks. Ever wondered who protects your parents' money at the bank? So to fully understand such terminologies, or to fully understand what cybersecurity is, we're going to have to break it down into subcategories. So who is a hacker? What is cyber? What is security? And what's a vulnerability? So is your idea of a hacker this man? I think when everybody thinks of a hacker, the first thing that comes to your mind is a man in a headsock, a man in a hoodie, on a computer trying to crack some codes. When you watch movies, it's somebody in a van trying to crack some codes for a bank or a system and steal some money. But basically, we're now going to break this down into subcategories. So what is cyber? So cyber is anything relating to the characteristics, the culture of computers, information technology, and virtual reality. So anything that's interconnected on the network, computers, right now, how we're speaking, this virtual reality we're having right now, how your phones communicate. So anything that's on a network is called cyber. Hence, a cyber attack being an attack that takes place on a network, the internet. So what is security? Security is basically the state of being free from danger or threat. So when you put a fence at home, you feel secure. When you have a dog outside at night barking, you feel secure. When you have a password on your phone, you feel secure, right? When a country has soldiers and police officers, the country is secure. So what is a vulnerability? So a vulnerability is basically the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked, harmed either physically or emotionally. So when you leave the house open, you have the vulnerability of a thief coming in, right? When you leave your pen careless, you have the vulnerability of it being stolen. When your phone has no password, it means if anybody was to steal your phone, they definitely have all information because it was vulnerable. It had no security. It had no password. So your cyber phone, in this case, had no security and was vulnerable. So, it's a whole system. Make sense? I hope so. So we're now going to break it down to what is a hacker. So somebody who gains unauthorized access to computer systems or networks illegally can be considered a hacker, right? If you cut down or hack undergrowth in the jungle with a machete, you're a hacker, right? Or you can basically say an enthusiastic and skillful computer programmer. That is a computer geek. You can call that person a hacker. So basically, a hacker is just somebody who's able to bypass a certain point of technology or system that normally somebody else wouldn't be able to do if they didn't have a certain amount of information or skill. So there are definitely a number of different types of hackers, but I think what comes to your mind probably when you hear a hacker is black hack. So a black hack is basically the people you've seen in the movies, the guys that steal your Airtel money and all that stuff. Those are black hacks. We have what we call a white hack. So a white hack is what I am. So this is basically a person that has the same information as the black hat. The only difference is that we use our information to protect people. We use our information to protect systems. We go through systems and tell the companies and tell them your system is not safe in this way, and a bad guy can steal your information. So what you're going to do is A, B, and C and implement such types of stuff. And then we have what we call a gray hat. So a gray hat is basically a person who works for an organization, helps the organization keep their data safe. But then this one night he wakes up and he's like, what if I stole from this organization? So the moment you blur your morals between being a black hack and a white hack, you become a gray hack. If you're caught hacking, you're fined for not less than 36 months in prison, which is not less than 3 years. And yeah, so you basically want to be on the good side. So cybersecurity is basically the protection of devices, services, and networks, and the information on them from theft and damage. So a cybersecurity expert is one who can secure things you never knew existed, like how you don't know that somebody can hack into your phone and steal your money. I mean, you know it can happen, but you don't know exactly how it would happen. So a cybersecurity expert is somebody who's able to secure that information for you without you even having to worry about it. So to be rarely listened to, yet always right, which is true. We as cybersecurity experts are every day giving out information to people. We're giving people all the tips on how you don't open links that you don't know where they came from, how you don't send weird pictures to people, and all that stuff. And no matter how much information we give out, people still do the opposite. If I send you a link right now, your curiosity is going to be, let me open it. If I send you a link and say you have received 1 million kwacha, your curiosity is going to be, let me open it and see if this is actually 1 million kwacha. But as a cybersecurity expert, we're going to do not open links that you don't know where they came from. So despite how much we tell you this, your curiosity seems to always win. So we are rarely listened to, but always right. And no, we are not hackers. We are not hackers, but we're definitely people who are there to protect the devices, systems, and networks and the information on them from theft. So from here, I hope you've understood a few things. Before we get into our next session, I want you to just think about it and in your own definition, what exactly do you think cybersecurity is and what do you think a cybersecurity hacker is? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes and you tell the facilitators from your own understanding what you think cybersecurity and what you think a cybersecurity expert is. And you can just basically tell them anything that you've learned so far before we get into the importance of cybersecurity in the education sector. So welcome back. I hope you gave very good definitions of cyber and cybersecurity. But before we proceed, we're just going to have a quick icebreaker and we're going to answer a few questions. So I just want you to write these questions down and think about it. And I'll pause after each and every question just so that you can give us your responses and your experiences, because I want to know how far and how much information you have. And as we proceed, so we're on the same page. So do you think you have something valuable to be stolen? Be it anything, be it something in your house. Do you have a special book that you feel somebody would steal? Do you think your phone could be stolen? So you can just raise your hand and let us know if you think you have something valuable to be stolen. Okay, the second question is, what are the chances that you will get hacked? So this is now going to come to the technology aspect. Be it your computer at home, be it your computer at your school, your phone, your laptop, or whatever device you have. What are the chances that either of those devices would get hacked? Have you ever thought about it? Have you ever thought like, what if we were hacked? Have you ever thought like, what if somebody hacked a multimedia station? What if somebody hacked ZMBC? What if somebody hacked BBC? What are the chances that anything around you could be hacked? What are the chances that somebody could hack the traffic systems, and instead of the cars that should be going left, right, it just puts everything on red and nobody's able to move because you violate the traffic lights? Have you ever received a scam message? So this can be anything. You might have heard your mother say somebody has told them they received 1,000 kwacha on their Airtel money. You might have heard there's so many ways that you can receive a scam message. Somebody can come knocking at your door physically and be like, you've won money, or this house doesn't belong to you, you have to vacate, or we're here to fix the water All those are scam messages. So have you ever received a scam message? Has anyone ever asked you to send an inappropriate picture? So this can be random people online asking you to send weird pictures of yourself, pictures that you feel you're not comfortable sending, and pictures that you feel you don't want the world to see. So has anybody ever asked you to send any inappropriate picture, be it online or anywhere, a family member, a relative, a friend, a boyfriend, just a random stranger online? Has anybody ever asked you to send an inappropriate picture? Do you know anyone who has ever been hacked? Have you ever heard of a bank in Zambia being hacked? Have you ever heard of your school being hacked? Imagine you have your end of terms, you've studied so hard, and you're excited to go for your holiday next week because your exams are only this week, and suddenly your headmaster calls you and they're like, we're not going to have exams this week because all our exam papers that we had in the computers have been hacked, and suddenly your holiday cannot proceed because it will take them 1 week to retrieve all those exam papers. So have you ever heard of anyone being hacked? And if you think you're being hacked, how should you report it? And to who should you report it? So has anybody in this room heard of ZICTA? So ZICTA is Zambia Information Communications Technology Authority. So it's the authority that's in charge of so many devices online. It's in charge of so many information systems in Zambia. It's in charge of Airtel, MTN, Zamtel. It's in charge of the phones in Zambia. All the phones are registered to ZICTA. So if you feel you're being hacked, who should you report it to? Should you report it to the police? We definitely have different departments in the police service. We have the fraud department. We have so many departments that deal with different types of be it cyber attacks or just any form of crimes. So who do you think you should report to if you feel like you're being hacked on your device? Think of that. So before we proceed, I want you to think of these simple little questions, because these little questions are definitely going to give you an idea of what we are getting into with the session, and it will help you just basically understand how we proceed from here. So if hackers are everywhere and carrying out attacks every single minute across the world, how does the internet keep our information safe? How can we keep our data safe? So how does WhatsApp send messages safely? How are you able to send a message from between your phone to your friend? How are you able to tell them to be at a specific place at a specific time without a random thief being there and stealing a certain amount of money? How are people able to conduct businesses on WhatsApp safely? How do they send messages and say, I have sent this money, all that stuff, without somebody intercepting or getting the information in between? So if let's say we have Bob and Ruth, how is Bob able to tell Ruth that he wants to purchase this thing? He wants to purchase this book. This book is worth 200. I mean, he's never met Ruth. Ruth is just an online seller. So how is he able to trust that Ruth has received that message and somebody in the middle did not read that message and will appear instead of Ruth? You get what I mean? How does Airtel make Airtel's transactions safe? Because those are transactions on the phone. It's the same internet that has thieves and attackers everywhere trying to attack you. How do your parents and my parents pay my school fees between the bank transaction and our school administration? How is the money able to move between Zanaco, Barclays, Standard Chartered Bank into your school's administration? How does your school know that your parents have paid the school fees? How sure are we that there's nobody in between trying to steal the money before it reaches the school? Because it's a network. It's between A and B. So between A and B, what goes on between that path in the middle? How are we sure that there's nobody stealing that information? The answer is easy. Definitely easy. So encryption is the answer. What exactly is encryption? Encryption is the way to encrypt and decrypt data. I've just confused you, right? I feel like I didn't explain anything, isn't it? So basically, encryption is a way in which data is put in a certain way that somebody in the middle cannot read it. So the message is only goes between the sender who sends the encrypted data and the receiver who sends the decrypted data. So here's an example. We have Bob and Alice, right? Bob sends to Alice a message called "Hello, Alice." So the message is then, Bob sends "Hello, Alice." The message is then encrypted. So when it's encrypted, this "Hello, Alice" becomes this bunch of numbers. So even if an attacker was in the middle and tried to read the message "Hello, Alice," what he's going to get is this bunch of numbers. He's not going to be able to read what the actual message says. But then when the message reaches Alice, Alice is able to decrypt it and it becomes hello Alice again. And that's how WhatsApp works. So Alice has a public key and Alice has a private key. So this public key is basically the number that Bob is sending the message to Alice. So that's the private key for Alice, right? Your phone number. When Bob is sending you a message as Alice, he's sending to your phone number. Sorry. He's sending to your phone number and that's your public key. And then when you receive your message, your WhatsApp is your private key. So your WhatsApp is now able to decrypt that information. So in between, there's no key, meaning there's nobody who can read that information. There are so many types of encryption methods. I'm going to give you from the simplest and then we're going to go up. Here's the simplest. You're in class and you have your best friend and you have this secret code called Rabbit. So basically when you say Rabbit, your best friend knows that you're trying to ask him what's for break today. Your teacher has no idea what the term rabbit means. So every time a teacher hears you say rabbit, it does not click to your teacher that, oh, these children are talking about food instead of like an actual rabbit. So what you've basically done is you've created an encryption between you and your best friend. Only the two of you can understand the information being talked about. When everybody else, they'll just hear rabbit. But you in your head, you know rabbit means what's for break today or what's for lunch today. Here's another example. I don't know if you've heard of the B language. That's an encryption. Another simple example is during war. So during war, we have this encryption method called steganography. So basically what the government does is they send a certain letter. It's just a picture, sometimes a picture of a dog, a picture of a cow, it's a picture of anything randomly. So they send this to the soldiers who've gone for war. So when the army commander sees that animal, he's able to understand what it means because he's been taught that type of communication. So if maybe you sent for him a dog, he's able to tell that in your message you've told him retreat from the war. If maybe you sent for him a whale, he's able to tell that in your message you've basically told him the enemy is 5 kilometers closer. Protect yourselves, hide. Or maybe, there are so many different types of ways. So basically that's how encryption works. Yeah, so all these different institutions use cryptography. So cryptography is the science of concealing messages with a secret code. I'm going to now let's just discuss a few things. So imagine you wanted to prove you're a grade 7 pupil to the exam invigilator, but you don't want to hand over your ID because your ID has information as where do you live, what's your birthday, and so on. All that information is definitely confidential and is your personal information. And the only thing your school needs to validate that you're actually who you say you are is by them seeing your name and the school where you're from and the signature of the authorizer of the ID. So what you do in this situation, you don't want to give out any other information of where you stay, of how old you are, because if you actually give them your ID card, they'll be able to see all that information which is there. So what do you think we can do to work around this? I'll give you 2 minutes and just brainstorm on how you think you can actually tell the invigilator you are Tom Banda without you giving your invigilator your ID. Yeah, let's think of that. Let's brainstorm and see how that works. So I hope you're actually coming up with the best idea. We're going to have 5 minutes and I want you to discuss with your neighbors and everyone around you how exactly you think you can work around this. So this is our example, right? Alice claims she's 18 years old. Bob says, prove it. If you're 18 years old, prove it. And then Alice shows Bob her ID, which was issued by an authority. Bob checks the originality and validity of the ID card and based on her age, either accepts or rejects. This is how basically everything works around the world. At the airport, they ask you, are you Zambian? You say yes. They tell you, prove it, remove your passport. The woman reads through all your information, your date of birth, where you live. She goes through all the countries you've gone through, and that's a lot of personal information she's having about you. So how can you just prove that you're who you say you are without you having to give your ID number? So here's example number 2. Alice says, I'm 18 years old. Bob says, prove it. Alice sends Bob her ID, but hides everything on the ID. But she's able to prove she has an ID. That's the only thing she's going to prove, she has an ID. Then she puts this ID maybe like in slow tape or something and nothing is showing on the ID. So Alice sends the response with a valid ID issued by an authority, but no information is showing. Bob checks the message received from Alice and either returns or accepts. So can you believe somebody says who they are if they actually hide the information, but they're saying they're who they are? Can you? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a certain technology called zero knowledge proof that has been employed in a few organizations around the world. It's still being researched on, but it's definitely the future of so many things in the metaverse, in our current worlds and everywhere. So to fully understand this, we're going to watch a simple video from a professor who's going to explain for us zero knowledge proof in different scenarios and different steps. And I hope you have fun.
Hi, my name is Amit Sahai, and I'm a professor of computer science at the UCLA Samueli School of Engineering. Today I've been asked to explain zero-knowledge proofs in 5 levels of increasing complexity. A zero-knowledge proof is a way for a prover to convince a verifier that some statement is true, and yet reveal no additional information beyond the fact that the statement is true. Zero-knowledge proofs are being used in blockchains and cryptocurrencies, so cryptographers are excited about zero-knowledge because of its amazing mathematical properties, but also because of its incredible applicability to so many different scenarios. What's your favorite subject?
I'd say math. Some of these small problems can actually be really big and complicated. It's like a puzzle.
I love math for the same reason. Today I'm going to tell you about a thing called zero-knowledge proof. So in a zero-knowledge proof, there are 2 people. There's a prover and a verifier. And I want to prove that something is true to you. But the weird thing is, I want to prove to you that it's true without telling you any reasons why. I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, wait, what? How could that possibly be, right?
Yeah.
So what do you see in this photo?
A lot of penguins.
Yeah. Hidden among all these penguins is a puffin. Do you want to try to look for it? Do you see where it is? I know where it is, but I don't want to tell you. Do you believe me? You're not sure to believe me, right?
Yeah.
But what if I could prove to you that I know where the puffin is without revealing to you where it is? Let me show you. I took that photo that we showed you and I put it behind this poster here. Why don't you go take a look through that hole?
I see the puffin.
So when you look at this board, we don't know where the photo was, right? Was the photo like with the corner here, in which case the puffin would be all the way at this side? Or was the photo with the corner here, in which case the puffin would be on the other side? So this is a really simple example of a zero-knowledge proof. I convinced you that I knew where the puffin was, but you didn't learn anything else.
Why do you study zero-knowledge proof?
When I first learned about them, I just thought they were so cool. But it turns out they're also really useful, not just for finding like puffins. If you just type in your password and a hacker hacks into the computer, they can just get your password, right?
Yeah.
What if instead we could somehow use a zero-knowledge proof to log in? You would just be able to prove that, hey, I'm Chelsea, without revealing anything to them. If you could do that, then it would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because then even if the hacker hacked into the computer, he wouldn't learn anything, because even the computer doesn't learn anything. So Chelsea, in your own words, what is a zero-knowledge proof?
Zero-knowledge proof is proof to a statement. You don't show them why or what. You just show them a tiny segment or just do some sort of weird magic trick. That's not really a magic trick. And they'll be convinced and you didn't show them why or anything like that.
So have you ever heard the term zero-knowledge proof before?
I have not,
You have not, right? It's a way for a prover to convince a verifier that something is true without revealing anything about why it's true, which sounds totally bizarre, right? Like, how can that possibly be? What I want to do is prove to you that I know this combination without revealing the combination to you. And what you could do is you could write a little note, a secret that I definitely wouldn't know. Fold it up, stick it in here, and then if I know the combination, I should be able to open it and tell you what you wrote. All right. There we go. All right. So my dog is named Doug. Did you figure out what the combination was?
No.
So nowhere in this interaction did you see any information that you didn't already know. And yet I convinced you that I know the combination, right?
Yeah. So what's the exact purpose of a zero-knowledge proof? Is it like proving something but without giving enough information that could endanger whatever it is that you're proving.
So you're asking, like, why shouldn't I just share my secrets with somebody? People don't trust each other, and if I was able to prove that I've done something correctly to someone without having to reveal my secrets, then that person would trust me more.
How does this relate to computer technology? Like, do you type it into a computer and somebody else receives it, or is it an in-person interaction?
Suppose you wanted to exchange messages with someone that you knew. What would you guys do? You'd probably first get together and like figure out some secret code, right? And then like write messages to each other in that code. But what if you've never met the person before? What if you want to exchange secret messages with me and we've never met each other before? How could we possibly do that?
I have no idea.
It sounds impossible, right?
It does.
But it's not. We wouldn't use like a physical lock or a physical box. We would instead use mathematics to do these kinds of things. You could take a message and encrypt it using mathematics. And then I could prove to you that I know the key. I could open it up and send it back to you. That way I would be proving to you that I know the mathematical key to the mathematical lockbox. So based on what we've discussed today, in your own words, what is a zero-knowledge proof?
It's like if you have this really important secret that you want somebody to know about, but you don't want to tell them everything. You can use a zero-knowledge proof to prove to them that secret, but not give away all of it.
What are you studying?
I'm a first-year computer science student at USC Viterbi. I'm interested in all things like data and internet and blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Have you ever heard of zero-knowledge proofs?
Only in passing.
So actually in the blockchain space is one of the spaces where we are seeing zero-knowledge proofs being implemented. And I think it's just the beginning. Let's talk about zero-knowledge proofs. At its core, a zero-knowledge proof is an interaction between two people. Then I should be able to convince you that some statement is true, but you won't have any idea why it's true.
Well, like understand that it's true because the operations performed in the proof are like of a certain they have like certain attributes that would make them true.
What you're basically asking me is, wait, what? Yeah. right? So this is what makes zero-knowledge proof so fascinating and so counterintuitive. And I think the best way I can explain it to you is by means of an example. But before we do that, I have to decide what I'm going to prove to you with a zero-knowledge proof.
Sounds good.
And the way we're going to approach this is through something called NP-completeness. What an NP-complete problem is, it's a problem that's really hard to solve, but if you can solve it, you can solve any problem that's in the class NP. And that includes a vast number of problems. And what we're going to do is we're going to use an NP-complete problem to actually prove an incredible variety of statements through a zero-knowledge proof. And the specific NP-complete problem that we're going to be looking at is called map 3 coloring. Okay, so here we have a map, okay? And these are a bunch of countries. And we've arranged them so that no countries that have the same color share a border. That's what makes a map like this validly colored. And now you might think, well, why should we care? It turns out that whether or not a map can be 3-colored in this way is an example of an NP-complete problem. And it turns out that maybe what you really want to do is you want to give a zero-knowledge proof that you have at least 0.3 bitcoins, right? That would be cool.
Yeah.
Without revealing what the address is of your account. It turns out I can take that statement that I have at least 0.2 bitcoins and convert it into a map of countries. And that map of countries will be 3-colorable like this only if you have at least 0.2 bitcoins.
How would we turn something like this into a zero-knowledge proof?
Of course, the first step is we have to erase all the colors. What I've done is I've put a color inside each of these envelopes. Now, how do you know that it's a valid coloring? You don't, right? You have to pick any 2 neighboring countries. You can pick them however you like at random.
Can I get these 2?
These 2. All right, sounds good, right? Here we have green, right? And over here we have blue, okay? And as you can see, they're 2 different colors, right? So you have a little bit of confidence, right, that I have managed to color this correctly. But not that much confidence, because I've only shown you 2 of the countries.
Yeah.
Right? So now Of course, one way to get more confidence is to open up more of them for you, but that would be revealing information to you. I don't want to do that. So instead, I'm going to ask you to please turn around. And now let's change up these colors. Can you pick 2 countries at random and we'll reveal to you the colors again.
I'll pick this one and this one.
Nice. And that's smart of you to check with the same, one of the ones you already had, right? Mm-hmm. But as you'll see, now it's not green, it's blue. And this one, on the other hand, is green. Okay? The colors I showed you last time don't work with these new colors, right? This wouldn't have worked before.
Yeah, because of this one, right?
Exactly, right? But it works for this coloring that I'm showing you right now. So what we've done is we've made it impossible for you to put the pieces together. And if you do this, let's say 1,000 times, and if I correctly showed you different colors each 1,000 times, you'd be really convinced. And that's it. That's the entire zero-knowledge proof.
Oh, okay. So is it like, there's no like actual like explicit like step 1, step 2, step 3? It's just like a probabilistic proof.
Yeah, in actual implementations, we wouldn't use envelopes, we would use encryption, right? But it's really, this is the protocol.
So what are the broader implications of like zero knowledge proofs? Are they supposed to be like more practical for like implementation end, or are they supposed to like structurally prove something?
It's not about making something more efficient. It's about doing things that we just didn't know how to do before. I can actually prove to you without revealing to you any of my secrets that I use to behave honestly, right? I could prove to you that I signed some encrypted document correctly, right? Without revealing to you what that secret document was. That ability to change the game, like really just change what we can do, is what zero knowledge brings to the table.
Where do you think we could build like more trust using like zero knowledge proofs and like its implementations?
One great example is like in elections. If you could prove that an election was correctly conducted, that every vote was counted, and it all added up to one person winning with a particular total, in zero knowledge, then you don't have to give up the actual votes of any person, and yet everyone could see that, hey, yeah, it was done correctly.
Okay, so now that you have watched the video, we can successfully say we have a conclusion. We can confidently say we have understood cybersecurity fundamentals, we have learned how to protect our data, and understood the value of data privacy, right? I hope so. So I really hope you had fun and that this session was very knowledgeable and you just gained so much from this session. It was very brief, very short, but I hope you've understood a few basics of cybersecurity. You've understood how to protect your data. You've learned that you can't just give away your data to anybody because different organizations might use your data for different purposes that may or may not benefit you, but they make profits out of you. So yeah, if you have any other questions, just write them down and we'll definitely get to them and, just to revise and fully understand what's going on around the world. Bye-bye.